So in this video, I'm going to show you how to make a Facebook banner for your business page. Now, first of all, we need to make sure that we are actually using the template for the business page and not the personal page. So I'll just show you now in the desktop what I mean. So if you go into your course and you look here, you will see that there is Facebook business cover, Facebook personal cover. Now we want to make sure that we are using the right template for the job. So here we will choose the Facebook business cover, and you'll see here there's already a pre-designed template, and there's also this here. So you won't have seen this before, but I'm just going to give you an overview of how it all works. So the first thing you do is download the template. So template was created for you by Graphics for Coaches. Isn't that nice? So here we are. Here's the template. Use template. And what that'll do now, that'll load it into your Canva. So you'll see here. Now this is the part that is really important, and a lot of people, it's not their own fault, but they don't realise that just because Canva will give you dimensions for Facebook doesn't necessarily mean they'll give you all the keys to the castle. So on the side here, these will not be seen on phone or tablet. So it's important to keep any key elements completely out of these zones on the left and right. So that is really important. You can have background images, background elements, etc., but try and avoid to have anything that's key in these areas. And to be honest, I would say logos and things like that can go in this, because they're not massively important, because if people are already on your page, then they know who you are, they know what your brand is, etc. So it's a minor point. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to replicate one that I made in Photoshop for Leanne, and I'm going to show you exactly how you can make something very, very similar in Canva. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to duplicate the page. I'm just going to double check to make sure everything's recording correctly. It seems to be, which is good news. So I've made a copy of this here. I don't necessarily need this on the left and right. It is useful to have, because sometimes what you can do, you can fade out your image just to check and make sure that it all looks good. So if I go into uploads, I can load one like here. Here's one I made earlier, so that should just drop in nicely. And you can see that fits well, as you'd expect, hopefully, from me. So you'll see that here there is some background elements, but all the important stuff is contained within this image. So here we have the original. I'm now going to create a new page with that one in. I'm actually going to delete that. So now we've just got this to copy off, and I'm going to show you exactly how you can do that now. So we need the all-important brand colours. Now, one thing I haven't done or pre-done is got the brand colours. So it's always good to have, if you use Trello, a Trello board with your brand colours on. If you know them off by heart, that's great. But if you don't, have them saved in a Word document or in your notes or anything like that, so you can quickly add them into Canva. That's if you haven't got the Pro version. In the Pro version, you can actually use the brand kit, where you can add your colours, your fonts, your logos, and everything like that. So we'll go into it here. So the first thing I want to do is add a background to it. Now, probably not going to be able to use the colour picker on this unless it's loaded it from the image. Yeah, it's loaded one that isn't too dissimilar actually, so that's good news. So I'm going to go into my uploads. That's set the background now. That's set the colour that I want. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose this image here. You see, this is the image that I used, but it's dragged it to the background. Sometimes does that. If you right click or two finger click on Mac, detach image from background, I'm just going to drag that in. Just roughly to where I want it. You can see something similar to that. So I'm going to have it a little bit smaller. And there we go. That'll do nicely. Then what I'm going to do is just reduce the transparency, just to make it more of a background image rather than like a foreground image. And then I'm going to get the other image here. I'm going to insert that. I'm going to do exactly the same. Drag it over to the right. Drag it down. This one I'm going to make it a touch bigger. Drag it to about there. And then there we go. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to check the transparency of this image on the left. So I'm going to click on that, just check where we are. 23%. I'm going to make it about 20. I like me even numbers. About 20. If you don't want to use the sliders, you can just use a keypad like I often do, just to be a bit more accurate. I use a stylus for when I'm working, so I don't always use a trackpad, and sometimes the stylus is great with Photoshop, but it's not great with Canva. So go into transparency again, highlight that, hit 20. So now we've got 2 images in the background. Now what you can't do as well in Canva, it's quite difficult to blend images. There are a few tricks within the Content Design Academy that shows you how to blend images. With this quick tutorial, I'm not going to go into that too much, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to get this hero image to almost hide the divide. So I'm going to get this image of Leanne here. I'm going to add that to it, and the first thing I'm going to do is use the background remover tool. That should remove it. There's an online tool called, I think it's remover.bg, and that is also a background remover. It's really good. It's not inside Canva. The one inside Canva is really good, but there's some images that it isn't great with. So if something's got really like some animals, so for instance like dogs or cats, especially if they've got a lot of fur, it can't really cut out the fur as well. So that's sometimes when remover.bg works well. So what I'm going to do now is just make sure Leanne is the right size. Just going to zoom out a bit as well. Make sure. Obviously, if we're using a subject, i.e. yourself, as like the hero of the image, you need to make you as big as possible, but not completely zoomed in, so it's like right in your face. Just want to have it nice and subtle. One thing I always like to do as well is just tidy up the edges, just so we're not overlapping, because sometimes Canva, if you don't get everything within I'll call it an artboard, if you don't get everything inside it, it doesn't always let you download it. So sometimes if you ever go to download and it's not allowing you to, that'll be the reason why. It doesn't always do it, but sometimes does. So you see now we're getting there something like, remember this is the one I made in Photoshop, this is the one I made in Canva. Not a great deal of difference at the moment. So now we need this pale green or aqua, whatever colour we want to use. So I'm going to go into elements. I'm going to choose a shape called a square. I'm going to resize it. I'm just going to drag it down to the bottom of the page. I'm going to change the colour to, now the colour isn't quite there. It's not really picked it out properly. I might pick that one, it's not bad. Just going to resize it properly. And there we are. Now what we need to do, we need to send it backwards. So we can either go to position and backwards. But you see here there's a shortcut, which is option or command. Well, it's command or option, and the square left bracket. Really good one to use. Like I say, a lot of people don't, but I absolutely love shortcuts because they make things quicker. Though one thing I want to check for is just move away. If you've got this highlighted by a mouse or by a trackpad, it'll look like the rectangle is right at the bottom. In fact, it isn't. You can nudge it down just using your arrow keys just to make sure it completely touches the bottom of the screen like it does there. And then it's just a case of now it's just entering some text. So shortcut T for the text, and then it's just enter your domain here.com. Now we just need to change the text for that. So you can use whatever you want. So this one, in this case, in Montserrat. There we go. And if you want to make it or capitalize it, just hit the uppercase. And one thing as well I did on this one is I just changed what's called the tracking, which is the distance between each letter. So letter spacing, it's called in Canva. We just increase it a touch like that. And then we're just going to shift it along a touch, and there we go. And then it's just a case of adding the logo, which is in the upload section, and we just reduce the size of that. And then it's just a case now of just adding the tagline, which is really easy. So again, I'm just going to do it, might as well do it on here. Now, quick and easy way of doing it. If you don't want to go through the whole process of hitting the T button or selecting some text, you can actually hold the Option key or the Alt key if you're on Windows, select that and drag, and that'll just make an identical copy. Again, now we need to change the font, so this is going to be Montserrat Black up here. There is not as much letter spacing in this one. I think actually I used -20. It looks about right. And just type in average to inspired. Resize, Might actually be more like -40 or -60 actually. Try -40. Yeah, that's more like it. And again, I'm just going to grab that again from the bottom, just using the Option or Alt and drag technique. I'm going to change that to Montserrat. Italic this time, and I think it is bold. Yeah, I'm just going to put inspire, be inspired. Drag that down, and there we go. So yeah, it's been done in Canva. It need to lock that in place. One top tip: lock things in place so you don't accidentally select them and move them. So lock. And one thing I always like to do, make sure everything lines up properly, just like that, and then lock in place. Select these two items. If you want to select two at once, click on the first one, hold the shift key, click on the second, then it kind of groups them together just for moving them around. And there we go. So pretty much identical, made in Photoshop, made in Canva, not too much in it. So that's how you make a Facebook banner for your business page. But just remember that if you are making it for your personal page, then you need to go back into here. I'll just show you if I can just get the right screen on, which is that one. Back into here, then we need to select the Facebook personal cover. They are all slightly different, so it's just one thing worth keeping in mind. So I hope you found this tutorial beneficial, and yeah, always feel free to upload yours into the group and tag me so I see them, and if I can give any feedback, then I certainly will.